Howdy everyone. Alright, I am still making progress on this engine assembly. What I'm getting ready to do next is torque all of the main bolts, if you will, that hold the engine together, that hold the case halves together. So I have the torque plates installed. The torque plates are required when you torque these large, let's see, it's actually these two and these two here. When you torque these, you have to have these plates in place. And of course, when you do these are studs. These are not the through bolts, but these also need the torque plates in place if the cylinders are not on. So the torque plates are on. I got the nuts, of course the washers. I got all of these other bolts in place. I've got, as I've talked about before, these brackets are in place. I added the two brackets that I know need to be in place for the fuel lines, the small fuel lines that run through here. These are required to support the fuel lines, so I'm going to go ahead and put those on. There's a bracket that goes up front off of these two bolts, I believe, for the baffles, and then there's another one that comes off of this bolt back for the baffles. I'm not going to worry about those. This bracket, I believe, is pretty much parallel in plane with the rib here with the flange in this orientation. This bracket, I think, actually gets bolted down at an angle, but I don't know exactly. So these two bolts are probably going to end up being loosened so I can adjust the brackets. And then, of course, like I said, I think these couple and this one are going to have to be removed to put the bracket on for the baffles. But I want to get everything torqued and in place and tight so that I could start working on other things and also get this on my other engine stand so I can get it vertical. With it vertical, I can easily work on all the accessory stuff back here. So just wanted to point out that torque plates, all four, there are two on the bottom, those are required. And then just to keep in mind that a couple of these smaller perimeter bolts are going to have to be loosened or removed to add the different brackets depending on what your configuration is. So you've probably noticed, even with the slideshow type of videos, you may have noticed that I did not lube anything. That was on purpose because I just wanted to get everything fitted first. So as I go through and I start torquing stuff, I'm going to disassemble, lube everything really good, reassemble, torque it, and then move on to the next one. So that's what I'm going to do now. I guess I'll go ahead and do some more, do more of a time-lapse type of deal. I call it everything. What do I call it? I call it slideshow. I call it stop motion. Jeez. But I'll go ahead and set this up for another time-lapse and talk to you guys here shortly. Howdy, everyone. All right, so like I talked about with the engine work, I'm getting ready to put this on a different stand so it can sit vertical and I can finish doing the assembly. So I've dragged in the engine stand that was given to me, and you can see obviously I've got it turned on its side. So I'm trying to figure out what, if anything, I should do to it because it's more solid than I expected. It's been sitting in the garage. I've basically just been wheeling it around. Whenever it's in the way, I just wheel it somewhere else, and when it's in the way, I wheel it back. So I haven't really looked at it too close until now. I don't remember it being quite this robust. For some reason, I was thinking it was made out of aluminum and whatever. Anyway, this is all steel, steel angle bolted together, which is fine. It's on this wood base, and this metal stand is not attached to the wood base. As you can see, it just sits on the wood base, and it's got these cleats on the corners that are falling apart. It basically has these cleats nailed in the corners to keep the feet from sliding off, and it's only got this in two corners. These other two corners down here were just it had duct tape wrapped around to hold it, which of course I am not going to do. Not a big fan of the wheels. These wheels don't roll very good. Of course, I could oil them. They might be okay. They're hard plastic. They might be a rubber. I don't know if I'm going to keep these or not. I know that on my other stand here, of course, this is turned on its side as well. This is the stand that the engine was mounted to originally, which is a horizontal stand. These wheels are excellent. They're quite a bit bigger in diameter. They're a little bit softer plastic, and they roll really, really well, and they don't tear up my floor. So I was thinking of maybe swapping these wheels and putting them on this. And of course, I'm going to redo the cleats. I'm going to keep the cleat idea, but I think I'll make them bigger, and I'm going to screw them into the wood. I've got another top. This is actually an old school desk top. I actually have two of these. This one is mounted to the stand. The other one is the exact same size, but it's not mounted. So I may add that for strength. You can see it's already cut for an engine. It's held engines before, although I don't know how big. And it is curved. You can tell it's sagged from the weight of the engine. This is the view from the underneath. So I don't know if I trust it. I may add that other top to this one just to reinforce it. And of course, if I do that, I'll have to drill holes in it to match. So that's my next project. This is actually Thanksgiving Day morning, so I'm not going to work on this today. I just dragged it into the house to get an idea of what I'm going to be getting into for tomorrow. So I'll probably just pull this off of the wood base. I may or may not change out the wheels. I'm going to clean it up a little bit because it's nasty. I'll put it back on the stand and redo the cleats probably on all four corners. I'll either reinforce the top. I'll probably reinforce the top with the other desk thing. So anyway, I just have to give it some thought. But once I get this back, or once I get this rebuilt, so to speak, to my satisfaction, and I'm confident it will hold the engine without any issues, I'm going to throw the engine on it and then continue on with assembly. So that's it for now. When I get into this tomorrow, once I get it all cleaned up and put back together, I'll get the engine on it and I'll come back and we'll talk. All right. See you guys later. Howdy, everyone. Alrighty, so you can see I've got the engine now on my vertical stand. Like I had talked about before, I went ahead and added the second top. So now this top is twice as thick. I re-drilled all the holes for this particular crankshaft. And of course, I've got it bolted down. and I put the new wheels, or I swapped out the wheels from that other stand. This rolls around now just by one hand. I mean, it rolls around very easily. Of course, the entire engine's not on yet, but still, I know that when those wheels were on the other stand and the complete engine was on the other stand, it rolled around very, very easily. So could be good, could be bad. We'll see. I would assume once I start torquing stuff on here, the wheels may not be a great idea, but for now I'm going to keep them. So nothing has changed with the engine itself. I'm getting ready. Well, I take that back. I did install the oil seal up under here. Inside the case is the rubber oil seal. It's got an internal spring, so to speak, and you got to put sealant on that, and then you wedge it up inside here, and then of course clean everything off really well. I had masked the face of the engine block, this front face up under here. I had masked that off because it was a machined surface. I basically masked off all the machine surfaces, assuming that something was going to get mounted to them. Nothing mounts to this front face. So I had taped it off and I didn't paint it, but I'm glad I did that now, because the solvent that you use to clean off the gasket once it's in place and clean off the excess sealant and all that, that solvent probably would have wiped off the paint anyway, or the majority of it. So it actually looks a lot better this way. It looks like it was purposely masked and painted, which it was, and I don't have a bunch of smeared paint and crapola everywhere. So other than that, nothing has changed. I'm getting ready to move on. I believe the next step is to start on the idler gears, putting the idler gears back in here and doing the timing between the crank and the cam. And then after that, the accessory case will go on. Before I put the accessory case on, I have to install the oil pump and whatever else needs to be installed on that. And then I can mount that with the new gasket and sealant and all that. I believe that also gets thread, but I'm not sure. I know there's a gasket for that because it came in the gasket kit, but I thought I had seen in the instructions something about thread. But anywho, idler gears and timing, and then accessory case stuff. I believe that's pretty much what's coming up next. I think I will go ahead and do another time lapse, and hopefully you guys are enjoying those. And that's about it. So I'll get started on, I'll get the camera set up, and I'll get started on whatever is next. And I will talk to you guys here shortly. See ya.